Hello and welcome back. We last talked about these and how we use them to explain lists and arrays in programming. And I said that there is a way to kind of work through a list of things using loops and iterators. And so that's what we're going to cover today. Now, in this example, we want to draw with each marker. And there's a number of ways that we can do that. One is, I'm going to jump over here. You can see that I have a list of markers. And I could say, well, I'm going to get the first marker. So if we remember from last time, where it's a zero-based counting system, so we're looking at the ground floor or marker 0. And we're going to tell it to draw. Okay. Now, I can keep doing that for the second marker, which is going to be 1, and so on. And that could get really tedious. Right now there's only 6, so it's not too bad. But if I had 50 or 100 or 1,000, I wouldn't want to keep writing that. That gets error prone and it's a bit repetitive. But there's a way to deal with that in programming. And for that, one example is using a for loop. So I've got a couple examples of for loops here, which I made earlier. And just going to bring this up. So a for loop usually has the word for in it, and it has a sort of placeholder, so the current thing that you're dealing with, and then the list of other things that you want to work through. So here I have the current marker, which is going to be the current marker that I'm using inside my list of markers, the list of markers I have up there. And then inside my for loop, I'm telling it what it should do. So here I'm saying the current marker, it should draw. Okay. And we'll talk about what draw is a little bit later on. But for now, it's just a command that a marker can do. You can just draw a line. And that means that I don't have to worry about which marker I'm using. Whatever marker it is, whatever the next marker is in the list, it's going to do that thing. So if we look through it, it's going to take the first marker, which is going to be red, and it's going to say the red marker, draw. Then it's going to take the orange one and draw. And so on until it gets to the end of the list of markers. And then at the end, it doesn't go back to the beginning, it stops. It moves on to the next thing in your program. Now, all languages have some sort of for loop function built in. If you're using JavaScript, you might see a for each one, and it works the same way. You specify the list, you specify the placeholder variable or container that you're going to use to work through, and you tell that placeholder what you're going to do next. In Java, it's a little bit different, but it works it's the same principle. Here, we initialize a counter. We specify at what point should we continue. So here, you see that if my counter starts at 0, as so long as the counter is less than the amount of markers. So if you remember, we looked at length, and so list can have a length thing. And then at the end of the thing that you do, you want to increase it by 1. Okay, so it's just a little bit different, but in Java it's a little bit more declarative about how the for loop is working. But for loops are really, really great if you're doing something a number of times and you don't want to have to worry about whether or not you're going to go above the amount of the list, and you want to make sure you do it to every single thing in the list. Another example of an iterator or a loop is a while loop. There's no surprises here. It starts with the word while. Other languages might have like a do while or while, but the only difference between a for loop and a while loop is meant to continue so long as this bit in here is true. So if you remember, we looked at conditionals a couple of weeks ago, and we said the conditionals need to evaluate to either yes or no, true or false. Inside the while loop, it will automatically keep going until the condition in here is false. So while the condition is true, do a thing, whatever it is you want to do. Okay, and each time it does the thing, it will come back, check and see if the condition is still true, and keep going. So while a for loop works on the list, and so long as that list is finite, there's a point at which we'll stop. You need to be aware of making sure that there is some way inside your while loop to make it stop. So now I introduce a new concept, which was that draw bit, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode. I'll see you then.